What's going on, guys? Tower number 9 here, and today for Fun Deck Fridays, we have double green Hera. So Hera is kind of the classic Fun Deck Fridays leader. She has a very cool, fun, themed build focused on the Spectre trait and running the cards that were from that group, the Spectre crew from the show and so on. So it's very thematic. It's very cool. She has this ability that allows you to ignore the aspect penalty card on the Spectre card, so you can play all of them in Hera's build. You don't have to choose one particular base or whatever, and it's a very cool, but the power level hasn't really been where people want. The Spectre synergy is good, but Hera is a pretty weak unit. There are also kind of some card pool issues with just, can you put something together that really works? In theory, Hera allows you to expand your card pool, but she has kind of this problem where if you take another aspect, you waste part of her ability, and if you take double green, the double green stuff just wasn't really all that good in set 1. But Shadows brought two things that really help out, and by using these, I built a cool new Hera deck. More Spectres would, of course, help, but this stuff is cool too, and I think it's interesting to see how this has improved, even without a big influx of Spectre cards or whatever. So, yeah. The first key boost was improved access to ambush. So units like Zeb or the Ghost really benefit from ambush. They have high impact on attack abilities, or when this unit completes an attack abilities. Actually, all the Spectres have high impact on attack, or when this unit completes an attack ability. But you can only use Energy Conversion Lab once, and Double Green had those card pool issues. So now you can run Timely Intervention, and I think that's a huge upgrade. So Timely Intervention is play a unit from your hand, give it ambush for this phase for 1, and you can smuggle it out for 2. This makes Hera a lot more threatening because you are no longer limited to 1 ambush per game. All those attack triggers are easier to get. I think it's a really good card for her. And then the second key boost is actually the Enterprising Lackeys. So I am going to double green. I do want that ECL. I want to get max value out of Hera's ability, bringing in the Spectre cards from as many aspects as possible. But double green cards haven't always had the highest power level. The Lackeys are an excellent card, though, and they're a big help. They have 4 for a 5/5. When defeated, you may defeat a friendly resource if you do put this unit into play as a resource, and you can smuggle it out for 6. So 4 for a 5/5, that's above the curve. Normally, you're looking at 9 points of stats, and the Lackeys have 10. And additionally, the when defeated thing, allowing you to put them into play as a resource and then smuggle them out repeatedly, means that you have a really good recursion thing that gives you a nice default plan, even if your opponent is using discard effects on you and kind of choking your options in the late game. Is especially good against decks that are running a lot of 1-for-1 removal. I would say you generally don't want to smuggle this early. I know a lot of smuggle cards you do want to smuggle early. I think playing this card at 4 is actually really good. The smuggle here is primarily for recursion, in my opinion. You can still resource it in a pinch, but I would be trying to play this card rather than smuggle it, rather than resourcing it and smuggling it out. I think it's a really good card. So yeah, this is the build, the double green Hera test build here. And I want to be very clear, I'm not saying this deck is going to be the greatest deck ever, but I feel like some of the weaknesses that Hera has traditionally had have been addressed by the Enterprising Lackeys being a nice reward for double green. Double green has historically been the worst of the double aspect combinations, because command is at a lower power level than the other double aspect legendary events. In particular, the fact that command says non-unique enemy unit instead of non-leader enemy unit is a huge problem. If it said non-unique enemy unit, it would be really good. As it stands, it's still a good card. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's below the power level of the other double aspect events. Yeah, you sometimes have games where your command is maybe your main removal. You do also have Karabast, but command is your main removal, and you have games where it's just randomly off because the only units your opponent has are unique, and that actually happens a fair amount because so many good units in this game are unique. So it's a really unfortunate downside to the card that makes it a lot less reliable than it otherwise would be, but that's how it goes sometimes. It's still a good card, but it's not reliable removal because of the non-unique restriction. However, you get that and the Enterprising Lackeys now. That's a fairly decent payoff for the double green, and with Hera's ability to mitigate the downside by bringing in Sabine and Ezra and Kanan and Zeb, and of course the Ghost. The Ghost is actually one of the most powerful cards in the build. If you can get the Ghost going with Hera out, it's really, really strong. It can be a game winner, and you then have a sideboard there with some options against more aggro builds. You have Hera's ability to ignore the aspect penalty on Spectres is going to help you out with Spark of Rebellion and Karabast as well. It's not just units, so Spark of Rebellion can allow you to remove some of your opponent's strongest options, while Karabast gives you at least some kind of removal. So I do think lack of removal is kind of a weakness for this deck, but I don't think it's totally untenable. And you do have some big endgame options here. I have the Ewing reinforcements, home one, and the reinforcement walker giving me some nice endgame and some stuff that can show up there to try and close things out. So again, is it the best deck ever? Nah, I don't think so. But I think, I had fun playing it. I think it's cool to have the synergies go. And, who knows? Maybe in the future we're going to see some more Spectre stuff, some more synergies, and Hera will grow even further. But for now, I think it's at the very least a cool Fun Deck Fridays sort of build. And yeah, that's about it for this. What do you think about this? Is this the way that you would like to run Hera? Do you have an idea for a Hera deck that works differently? I will say I had a Hera red deck that focused on discard, and I thought it had some cool stuff, but ultimately I felt that running many, though not all of the discard tricks in another deck, was likely going to end up being more effective than going to try to max it out by using Hera to bring in Spark of Rebellion and to force throw with the Spectre force units. But yeah, anyway, that's the Hera Double Green Fun Deck Fridays build. Let me know what you think, and that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thanks to you all for watching, and we'll be back later with some more Star Wars Unlimited content. I will catch you guys later.